Hey everyone, welcome back to Nutrition Made Simple, a video series that we created that takes a look at natural health topics and then we break them down into easy to understand and actionable steps. And I'm joined today, as always, by Ed Jones. He's the owner and founder of Nutrition World. And today we're actually going to be taking a look at some natural pain relievers. Now, thankfully, we have a ton of options in this category, and we're all going to experience some type of pain in our life. And there are times that we just need something to take the edge off so that we can make it through the day. Now, NSAIDs like ibuprofen and aspirin are usually the choice. Almost all of us have had some type of medication like that in our cabinet, but sadly, those come at a price. But we're going to take a look at some of our options in this natural pain relief category. So Ed, to start us off today, let's talk about some of the statistics surrounding NSAIDs. And then maybe before that even, let's talk about what pain actually is, because it's kind of a hard concept to understand, actually.
It truly is, Brian, and thank you for that, because we all have had pain. And we think that it's where the nerve is feeling the pain. Actually, nerves don't feel pain. What they do is send a transmission of information back to the brain, and then that communicates a feeling, the feeling that we call discomfort and pain. So nature put this into us because that's what protects us from hurting ourselves further if we need to stop something, like touching a hot stove when you're young. And there are a few people who are born without pain receptors and actually don't live a long time, believe it or not, Brian. Well, again, the choice of most is the gorgeous commercials that promise a beautiful life, because if you pop these 2 pills, you will be back in the world of perfection. Well, it's not true. As you said, there's a price to pay. I've taken them. There's time and a place for these. Now, we'll say it's not like we can just do away with them.
Right.
But what happens with NSAIDs, and NSAIDs stand for non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. We all know that types of ones, the Advils, the Motrins, the Aspirins. And, they're responsible for 200,000 hospital visits per year and about 20,000 deaths. And a good pharmacist, I think his name was Joe Graydon, long ago, he wrote about the fact that every time you take an aspirin, your gut's going to bleed about 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon of blood. Well, that's when you put that in your head. I know people who take, 6 aspirin a day for years. That's a lot of losing blood. Well, the reason you lose blood is because it's damaging the gut lining. Mm-hmm. And there are people who can just fall on the floor because of a massive gut bleed, and sometimes they're able to be saved and sometimes they're not. So these do come with a pretty high cost. And there are pathways that produce pain, and that's what I want to talk about today, is how do we reduce these strong messages of pain without the potential side effect to our arteries and to our gut lining. And I can tell you, people, I've got a pretty good miles on this old body. A lot of it's from working out and some running and craziness, but part of it is Father Time, and I'm kind of like a scout going further down the road for all of you who want to follow a more holistic path, because I have had about a 7-month struggle with some chronic tendonitis type of pain in my hip. Mm-hmm. And I have run the gamut of how do I help myself sleep better at night, because pain is the enemy of sleep, as we know. It's also the enemy of happiness and joy sometimes, because it's hard to enjoy a beautiful sunrise if you're really focused on a lot of pain.
Right. So to start off, let's take a look at exactly what we have here. We've got CBD. We've got this acute pain relief by Terry Naturally, and we'll talk about what's in that in just a minute. This is Boswellia, and then we have Pain Blocker by Life Seasons, which is another blend, and we'll talk about what's in the ingredients in that as well. So is there one that you want to start out with in particular?
What I want to do, Brian, is actually just break this down into 2 major components. Without getting too confusing with biochemistry, if you imagine that you and I were going to leave tomorrow to drive to Disney, we have a lot of choices of roads we could choose. We could go down Highway 41, we could choose 75. Once we get to another place, we could go on another highway. We've got options. Well, that's the kind of way pain works. There's 2 main highways for pain. It's called COX 2 highway and 5 lipooxygenase highway. So the the thing is, those drugs you spoke about, they block those very effectively. But the problem with the drugs is they block other COX types of pathways that are beneficial to our body. When you block a COX-1, you're stopping the protective layer of your gut. So all of a sudden, everything starts bothering you. The foods, the irritations, the gut growling. A lot of things can happen because you block too many of those roads, which means we didn't get to Disney, actually.
Right.
So what does botanical herbal medicine actually do? It is so much more user-friendly because it only blocks the ones we need blocked. Does it do it as effectively as a drug? No, but that's also why it doesn't have the side effects. So we've got two highways that I want to talk about. The COX-2 and the 5-lipoxygenase. Curcumin, we've all heard of turmeric and curcumin. And that's from a plant of the curry family. If it's produced properly and absorbed at a high level, you will block the COX-2 inhibitor highway pretty darn effectively if you do it with the right dose and the right consistency. Secondly, the other big highway, the 5-lipoxygenase, is blocked by boswellian. And many people haven't heard of this. Boswellian is a very powerful herb that's actually known as frankincense. And again, produced properly, if you block both of those highways, you will probably have a significant amount of pain reduction. Now, does that mean total discomfort relief? Not always,
right.
But it does give the body ability to function in life, which is what I'm doing by rotating around and using different formulas in order to have a better functioning day because of this hip. And you know, the thing is, part of this experimenting. So I will encourage people, one, to make sure you have brands that are very researched to have the quality, the transparency that we demand at Nutrition World, one. Two is, know that just because it says something on the box, and of course legally we have to say follow the box's instructions, I can tell you that that is a maintenance dose, and what I consider a therapeutic dose is generally probably about double that for me. And that is what it takes for the actual product to work better for me. If I just do what's on the box, it's minimal. If I do kind of double that, it actually works very well. And so I'm kind of using both of these. Lastly, before I forget this, acute pain and chronic pain are two different things. What is acute pain? That's when you stepped off the curb and you sprained your ankle. Chronic pain is what I'm experiencing because of probable wear and tear on my hip or overtraining in the gym. These work a lot better for chronic pain than acute pain. I am a fan of using non-steroidal anti-inflammatories if I step off that curb and I've really strained my ankle and I can't sleep and can't walk. I'm going to take one of those because short run, they're pretty darn safe. Right. Long run is where the danger comes in.
Okay, well, that's good information to know. Yeah, so we've got the CureMed Acute Pain Relief. Like Ed said, this is a curcumin supplement. This is interesting because this actually has boswellia in it. So we have those two options. We've got the boswellia by itself, and then we have the CureMed. So let's go over here to the Life Seasons Pain Blocker. This is a pretty interesting formula too, isn't it?
It's very interesting. It actually has a newer ingredient that's kind of hard to pronounce that is combined with about 9 other botanicals. Because pain, you know, again, going down the highway analogy, we do, and these work on the two pathways. But you know what? A lot of pain sensations have to do with anxiousness and anxiety. There's some calming herbs in here. Makes a huge difference, especially the one for the evening where you are not able to sleep very well, which is a whole nother conversation. But using the things that calm the mental state, anytime you had, if you say you had a pain that was a level of 6 and you were anxious, you could probably have a level of 4 to 3 if that anxiety was eliminated, even if the pain did not change. So some of these, like this, are working on the mental state of the body along with the physical state. And again, we always, you know, must say, and it's wise, check with your doctor. Don't get off medicines that you're on that, you know, we're using to treat pain prescription-wise and jump on these. Ask your health professional and find a health professional who knows how this works, because you don't want to just replace a drug with a nutrient. Sometimes that it can be not a good decision.
Yeah, a fair warning, this can actually cause drowsiness, so our recommendation is always to start small and then work your way up as far as the amount that you're taking. And this is I really like this one. It's worked great for me. I've had headaches or neck pain where I slept wrong, and that's been really effective for me. And last, but certainly not least, probably one of the hottest topics in the supplement world today, and that's CBD. We have a lot to say about CBD, but we'll try to keep it as brief as we can here. But as far as pain goes, Ed, or discomfort, what should people be looking for when purchasing CBD?
Well, find a reliable supplier, number one. We know that the quality of the results is going to be based on the quality of the plant, the processing, the storage. Many factors can affect the end result. And I'm pretty much don't trust any company unless they prove to us with the type of paperwork that makes us know there's no impurities, because impurities are a big thing with CBD because of the soils they're grown on. Secondly, CBD is very dose dependent. I know because I've interviewed 3 different experts on my podcast on CBD that the life, the blood life of CBD is about 6 to 7 hours. So if you go home and you've got an achy back and you take a big dose, you might get some results, but you're not going to get anything impressive until you hit a dose every 6 to 8 hours for 2 to 3 days. That's a key component. Secondly, dose itself is important. Everybody needs to find what we call the sweet spot. The sweet spot is, in my experience, somewhere between 1/2 eyedropper full to 2 eyedroppers full. Your pain is a feedback system that will tell you pretty darn quickly that it's working. Thirdly, always know that you could test positive, even in some brands that are saying they have no THC. Don't risk your job on CBD if you are in a job that gets tested. But stick with it, get a good brand, do it 3 to 4 times a day, and play with the dosing. Again, don't replace a medicine with this without checking with your health professional.
Now, as far as the pathways that you were talking about earlier, which pathway is CBD working on?
It actually works on a little bit of multiple pathways, not to the specific nature of Boswellian, but it goes across the board, and it also works on the mental endorphins and certainly helps to lower the anxiety levels. So it's kind of a general across the board type of liquid, and I do prefer liquids on reducing pain. Again, the devil's in the details with the quality and the dosing. Do it, and you will know within 3 days if you hit the sweet spot.
All right. Any last words? Anything you want to add?
Well, again, I know that it's the product itself and the dosing and the regularity of using it that helps decrease chronic pain. Even though this is called acute pain, it does work pretty good for that. But again, I am not super opposed to occasional aspirin if I have a terrible headache, because they work better and short runs are not going to hurt people. But I'm always choosing this as a first line of defense. And then if I need something for acute, I would do something else. But be cautious, people. I mean, nature put together a formula that is friendly to this earth, to the living creatures on it, if done and grown properly. Synthetics don't really care about us, and that's why they come with a host of much more side effects. Trust nature, trust nature's pharmacy, and you generally will always end in a better place.
All right, everyone, that's it for today's episode. We hope this was helpful. As always, if you ever have any questions, please let us know. And like Ed said, don't replace this with something that you're already taking. This is something that you need to ask your doctor about before you do that. They are safe, but of course, we don't want you to replace it with anything if that's not okay with your doctor. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content just like this, and we will see you next week on another Nutrition Made Simple. Take care.
Bye-bye.